So we are Phoenix Records. I'm Soraya.
I'm Kaylee.
Our inspiration of our record label comes from the legendary bird Phoenix, and once its lifespan comes to an end, it's reborn in fire and flames and stuff. So that's where we've taken inspiration for our logo at the top. And for today's pitch, we're going to try and pitch our idea of a narrative conceptual style music video. And the song we've chosen is Aries by Winter's Island. It's kind of a song, it's it's not straightforward about love and relationships, it's a bit broader, so we're able to explore more different pathways of that.
Okay, our song Aries by Winter's Island. Aries is the name of the Greek god of war, so it kind of resembles the whole idea of the internal conflict within himself and him trying to reinvent himself. The band is an electric indie pop band, and it's the whole song is just about a guy who's trying to escape his past and kind of be reborn in this new kind of more positive life.
And he sort of has to get past challenges to become this new person.
So we did some lyric analysis of the song. As you can see in front of you, this is what we drafted together. And as we're going through it, we realised that a lot of the imagery that the song connotes is about fire and being reborn. You can see that the song talks about how she wanted more, the woman and supposedly the woman in this relationship wanted more from the man, but he talks about how he could fulfill what she wanted. So that seems to be why they broke up. But then he realizes that he thinks that he's not good enough. He's in an unhealthy relationship, so that's why he tries to.
He moves on.
He's trying to move on and he's trying to rebuild himself. So that's where we get the idea of that he is trying to be reborn.
Okay, so our main ideas, we kind of went off separately and pitched everything that we just kind of imagined, and then we came back together and we kind of thought, with the lyrics and the style of the song, we all kind of thought of ideas of sparklers and fire and smoke for mainly the chorus, because it all talks about fire and how he's kind of burning himself down to then be rebuilt afterwards. And we came up with this idea of how originally he's in an all-black costume. We kind of linked it to the whole funeral attire and how he's dying, metaphorically dying. And then when he comes back afterwards, he's going to be dressed up in all white. So it's kind of the whole fresh start, clean slate kind of appearance.
So if you look at our shot list and our storyboard, this is a general summary of what is happening in our actual music video. So he starts off walking through an urban cityscape. It's quite dull colours, it's quite grey, and he's walking through a skate park and he sees that there's something chasing him or something following him. As he realises that it is actually chasing him, they commences into a chase scene through a city. So we're planning on making a montage of chase, fast-paced chase scene that we were planning to film around Stockley Park and Hayes, so around the urban areas of the street area.
Kaylee knows that area quite well, so she knows what's going to fit into our.
So as he's being chased, we get to a point where he decides that he could give up or he could fight back, and we show that he fights back by they could engage in some kind of combat, and he wins, runs away, and then he finds this kind of portal type thing where he can see color in this grey landscape. The only color is the orange and symbolizing fire and stuff. So he walks towards the flares and some kind of imagery of orange. Yeah. And as he walks through it, he finds himself in a natural landscape where he's in a field. So that shows that after he's beaten his inner demons, he's being reborn and now is in a natural setting where everything's good and happy.
Okay, so for our locations, we have 3 or 4. For the fire scenes, obviously we don't want to film a massive fire in the middle of the forest because that's really unsafe. So most of the shots are really close up. So we thought I built a brick kind of barbecue setup, so we can film those using coal and everything. Or a big bin with paper and all that and film close-up shots. And we thought when we're editing them, we can layer that over the footage of this guy like stressing out in the forest, and then it'll kind of like, so it won't be fire in the trees, it'll be like laid over him, and it'll be like consuming him. So that's for the fire. Or the fields and like the foresty bit, we want to use Stockley Park, because they're out like towards the end of the park, towards Hayes. It's more like a forest, and it's more like, what's the word?
Closed, like
Yeah,
closed. So it'll help us make like, because there's a part in our storyboard where he's like running through trees and stuff like that. So we think like a place like that would be.
And it's quite, you wouldn't run into anyone there, so it's quite closed off.
And the surrounding roads for the chasing. Oh, and there's one or two shots of it kind of like at the end after this whole like him being reborn, it kind of switches to
Back to
him.
normality, like in real life.
Yeah, and it kind of shows how all of that like that inner fight was in his head, like it wasn't really happening.
But he's
And now he's like back in the real world, but in a better place, like emotionally.
So for our cast, like we haven't actually decided who we want yet, but we have an idea of the kind of like person we want. And when we all like sort of spoke about, we also had the same idea. We want someone who was like fair skin, who sort of fit into our height and build. And so yeah, so
Like a young adult
and for our auditions, we knew that there was drama students who'd be like happy to help us. So we'll be holding auditions for them.
So as for costume and makeup, we're still sourcing some of the items, but we managed to get all of the black costume down. So it's just like a black hoodie, black shirt, black joggers, and we're deciding between like trainers and boots depending on what kind of like we want them to look casual or a bit more sophisticated. But we need to we're going to replicate the same thing in white so that we can have like a contrast between the black and the white, which does the costume.
Okay, for the monster that's supposed to be chasing him that resembles his inner demon, we wanted to have a really like simple costume and then put most of the focus on his face paint. So yeah, we picked up like loads of products and stuff that we could use on their face to make the look that's here, or a look similar. So we want to have like red, like dried like blood tears, because it kind of like shows the whole like idea of death, and then the whole like this thing that's trying to chase him and take him over, but he's fighting against it.
So this is our props list. We had to do this just so we're like organized. We know what we need to like buy and stuff. So we were thinking of getting sparklers and a flare of some sort to get like orange smoke effect. And we think that the sparklers and the flare combined will help us create conceptual like ideas of fire and like help us overlay that onto our main thing. And dry ice also will help us create like smoke where like putting in water and stuff like that. Coffee and the spoon was obviously for the shot in the coffee shop at the end, and Katie's barbecue, and also a skateboard, because at the beginning he's going to a skate park, so we need to get some people to get like skateboard and do some shows for us. So the filming and editing schedule is like should be printed out.
So there was a number of risks that we assessed. So one could be like the rain and the damage that it could cause to the equipment. So yeah, we're going to have an umbrella, and to just prevent the risk, we could just check the weather before we leave to know if it's going to rain or not. And since we're going to be using flames and sparklers and stuff, like we want to like make sure that we don't like burn ourselves or anyone else. So we're going to have a first aid kit nearby and a phone to call an emergency.
And use gloves.
Yeah. And we're going to be filming in like forests and fields and stuff. And obviously like there might be stinging nettles or whatever. So again, we're going to keep a first aid kit nearby and just like analyze like our location before we even film, just to know.
Time of day filming, especially because it gets dark now, very early.
I think in the filming schedule we wrote that we're going to film some shots in the evening, the one which is the sparklers and stuff, and the rest of them we're going to be in the daytime.
Okay, so with the evening, what do you need to have?
Like,
Torches, especially thinking about where you are and safety of yourselves.
Yeah.
And also sparklers, what do you need to have close by? A bucket of water to dip your sparkler in. Okay, well done. Thank you very much. Okay, I like a lot of your ideas. I like the fact that it's, you know, conceptual and not just a narrative. So you've tried to be a little bit creative with it. We did discuss, and I'm going to ask again, you know, when we looked at the sorts of music videos that were inspiring you, and you did some work with After Effects, you were talking about this idea of layering drawing on top of and text on top of your music video, and that's where a lot of your sort of research came from. How does this tie in with the research that you've done then? Because it doesn't seem to be any elements of that in here anymore.
The shots of like the montage in the forest, when like the most fast-paced part of the song, we want to have shots of like a heart monitor going through it, and towards the end of that part before he's reborn, the monitor like dies out, show that he's dead, and that we want to do in the white scribble effect that we used in our mini project in the nuns.
Okay. Is the female not going to be represented, who this apparently is all about?
It's not really about her, it's about him moving on from that and becoming a new person. So.
Okay. So in your casting, you only talked about one male.
And then the person
Who's going to act as so there's going to be two males. Okay. So what's your casting criteria for the second male?
the demon.
Yeah.
I think similar to the main protagonist, because it's supposed to resemble himself. So someone who's similar build and look to him.
You want two people that have a similar look in height, build, weight. Okay. How are you going to transition from your kind of dark fire kind of scenes in the forest to the Costa scene?
So there's a part where he looks up at the sun, and then we're going to use a lens flare type transition where it flashes white, and then the white fades back into the coffee shop. So that's not great.
I think what you're going to need to do is to make it so that the sun is something that's inside the coffee shop. So whether it's a light fitting or something, so actually the two things are the same, so that it overlaps and it makes sense that, you know, he looked up at the sun and then it flares out, goes to white, and then when it sort of blurs back in again, it focuses into it's a light inside the coffee shop and his sort of the focus is just readjusting to what he's looking at, if that makes sense. Because otherwise you're going to end up with something that looks completely different to the rest of your whole film, and you're going to need to think about the colour grading and stuff there too. Okay. What about the marketing of the actual artist? So the person who you're getting to play the main guy, he's not going to have any makeup or anything on throughout this, is he? No. So that will be the artist representing there. Okay. There's no reference to Digipack and website ideas at the moment. So that's something we would need. And I think that you could. I think it's a really good idea, but I think you can push the boundaries further to really pull it off. I'm worried that you're going about it a little bit half-heartedly, that you could do more with it, but you're not pushing yourself enough to really push the boundaries and get that real kind of light and dark, demon, good, bad thing really across. So I think that, you know, it might be worth just exploring it a little bit further to see if we can push some more boundaries and really make it conceptual, because I think you're almost on the brink of toying with it being conceptual but not really doing it. Yeah? Okay, that's all from me.